Welcome to Stretching Mistakes, Day 1. How do doctors think about stretching? That's what we're going to get into today. We're going to go into that through the ATG Split Squat, which is going to address the hip flexors. We got into this video because my buddy Bobby messaged me and he asked me, what is the best stretch for the hip flexors? And if I was pressed for an answer, I would say it's this, the ATG stretch. Now, we're going to go over the ATG stretch today in a bunch of different ways. Basically, we're going to talk about how to do it. We're going to talk about what we are targeting. We're going to talk about why we are doing the ATG split squat. And then what if you cannot do the ATG split squat? What are some things, some remedial ways that you can address it? But first and foremost, welcome to the Anatomy of Therapy. I'm Dr. John Cybulski. If you haven't already, hit the like button. There are some links below to our Patreon and our podcast. Leave a comment, help people find this video. But let's get right into it today. What is the ATG split squat and what are we doing? How do we do it? Let's break it all down and learn. This is, of course, Knees Over the Toes guy. And he posted this the other day. He said, we've got a simple mobility test. And he's right. This is one of the things that masters of movement kind of do. They squeeze in tests that are actually the exercise. So there's a very famous saying in chiropractic, the exercise is the test and the test is the exercise. So let's go over this. How do you do the ATG split squat? We'll talk about what is targeting and why and what if later. But first and foremost, the ATG split squat looks a lot like this, okay? We've got a back leg forward. It looks like a lot like a lunge. We're trying to keep an upright torso. But as this says, the first step here is to keep this heel flat as we lunge forward. So as this knee goes forward, your heel will be tempted to want to come up. Don't let it come up. This is going to test our ankle dorsiflexion, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the tibial dorsiflexion here in a second. I think it's actually the key. Okay, so step 1, keep the heel down, lunge forward. Step 2, the hamstrings completely cover the calves. And so what he's talking about, let's go back a little bit so we can see it, is these are the hamstrings, these are the calves. Now we are fully covered. What is that doing? We'll get to that in a second. So heel down, hamstrings over calves. That's essentially the lunge portion. And then the last bit is going to be this back leg. You don't want this knee, there it is, back knee does not touch the floor, okay? So we're bringing the hamstrings over, we're not letting the heels up, and the back knee does not touch the floor. If you can do these 3 things, you have done the ATG split squat, right? Okay, let me talk about what these things are actually targeting as we are targeting them. Okay, so from the very beginning, if our heel is flat, and then our hamstring covers the calves, we are reaching maximal dorsiflexion. So this is one of the primary moves of the body. Your foot needs to dorsiflex. If your heel is coming up, you're not dorsiflexing, you're maintaining some form of plantar flexion. So we're getting full dorsiflexion. Now, as I said before, I want to show you this a little bit. A lot of people, when they think of dorsiflexion, they only think of the ankle. And as well, they should think of the ankle. But dorsiflexion also includes the tibia versus the foot. And the ankle, of course, is in the middle of the two. So you can think about keeping your heel down, or you can think about bringing your tibia forward. Okay, there's a very different mentality between the two. There's a very famous saying with doctors. This is how doctors think of stretching again. Your brain does not know muscles. It only knows movement. So when he says heel flat, hamstrings cover, he's not saying tibial dorsiflex, activate your quads as you go forward, use your anterior tib to pull you forward. He's not saying that, but it will address your anterior tib. He doesn't say lengthen your calves or relax your Achilles tendon. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say keep your weight down. He is talking about a task-oriented directive here, basically. Heel down, hamstrings covering, and that will get you full dorsiflexion, ankle dorsiflexion, tibial dorsiflexion, and then of course we're getting full knee flexion. This is the end range, we would say, of one phase of gait. And this is the other phase. Again, I'm getting a little bit ahead of it. Why are we doing this? This will help you walk like a human. Short answer. But as we go forward, we need that ankle to get into full dorsiflexion. If this knee is also in full flexion, that means that we can get full hip flexion as well. If we can get full hip flexion on this side, then we get full hip extension on the back side. We want the exact opposite thing happening on both sides. So if you can get maximal flexion on one side, you can really make sure you get maximal extension on the other side. There are doctors who say, there are schools of thought who say, if you cannot get full flexion on one side and full extension on one side, the full flexion on one side doesn't really count. You need full flexion on one side, full extension on the other side. And this is a way to get it without basically doing the full-on splits. So you're still basically keeping your foot down. So I'm not going to be able to do the splits. The other thing about the splits is that you won't be able to do enough repetitions. That is one of the keys with this ATG Split Squat. Once you have done it, you need to do it repetitiously, if you can do it. There are some regressions to this. We actually have some videos that we've already made for the regressions of this. I'll put a link to it up here. But yeah, smash the like button if you haven't already. Let's get back into the next piece of it. Okay, so this is about walking. What else are we targeting here? So on this front leg is what most people are kind of looking at. Like I said, dorsiflexion, calf, anterior tib, hamstrings, quads, and then of course full knee flexion. If your knee can do this, your knee is healthy, right? So, but what is also happening back here, and I said this is why this is the absolute best hip flexor stretch in the world, is because it is an active hip flexor stretch. In other words, you can do this over and over again, actively lengthening the hip flexor, actively using your hamstrings. And so with these active stretches, it basically sticks longer than just the passive one. Passive stretches, you will hold it and then they go back. Active means you can use it. We want stretches that you can use in life. This is kind of the key, okay? So when that back leg doesn't go, if that back knee is not touching the ground here, as we were kind of showing you, then you do have full hip extension. And we doubly know you have full hip extension if in fact you have full hip flexion on the opposite side. This also requires that you keep your torso up, which means that your spine is rotating forward on one side and rotating back on the other. This natural alternating motion. This is how doctors start to, or should be thinking of stretching. This is how I hope you are thinking about stretching as well. Okay, so this is what this stretch is getting us. We are doing it over and over again. If you are finally good at it, what we do is we start to add weights. What he's saying up here is I got it from strength training. He was capable of doing this only because he did strength training. He did it repetitiously. He added load. And these are the two big things that people miss in stretching. Low reps, no load. Body weight load, not enough capacity put into those tissues to make an appreciable change. That is what we need to do. That is what he means by strength training. You can do this body weight. You're going to have to do a bunch more reps if you do it with body weight. If, though, you begin to add weights here, you can do less reps and put more load into the tissue. Your body will learn due to the tension. You need to create your own tension. Create tension, creates flexibility. Do it specifically. Keep your heel down. Let your thigh cover the hamstring. Let the knee go all the way forward. Now, what if you can't do this? We talked about that. There are regressions to this. This is the absolute best hip flexor stretch. You don't want to load it up too crazy. I've already said too much. I'm losing it already, guys. Do the ATG Split Squat. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe. Leave questions. Do you guys want to see anything specifically on this page? I've got a bunch of great questions before. As I said many times on this channel, I'm a doctor for 10 years now, so if I can help you out with any questions, I try to get back to everybody. Have you tried this? Will you try it? When you do try it, what is it you feel? Can you do it? How hard? Listen to our podcast. Thank y'all so much. Have a fantastic day. I hope everything goes well. I hope that you are strong and ripped up like knees over the toes guy. Have a wonderful day. I'm going on vacation. Peace.